To me, my X-Men.
The first appearance of Cyclops on screen wasn't even in the X-Men. In 1966, the Marvel superheroes became the first ever animated Marvel show, with stories lifted straight from the page to the screen. In the Submariner installment titled Dr. Doomsday, the X-Men, including Cyclops in his very first comic book costume of a blue bodysuit with yellow adornments and an X symbol on his belt, made a guest appearance under the name the Allies for Peace. Cyclops also appeared in Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends. Portrayed as the first leader of the X-Men, linked with Firestar and Iceman, who were both mutants and Spidey's titular Amazing Friends, his look was simple, with his blue full-body suit and head cover, and his headgear with controls around his ears glowing red with energy.
Scott, baby, don't lose control. Gotta focus all my power in one tiny beam. Talk about eye strain.
In 1989, there was almost a standalone X-Men animated series, but it never got off the ground. There was a pilot, and that was X-Men Pryde of the X-Men. In this show, the team and Cyclops has to go up against White Queen, while the team battles to stop the Earth from being plunged into a new ice age. Cyclops' outfit was also darker than in previous appearances in Pryde of the X-Men.
Just can't believe it. Nightcrawler is... What's that?
While that show never got the green light, Marvel instead gave us X-Men the Animated Series in 1992, and it's one of the most beloved Marvel animations of all time. During the opening sequence, Cyclops is the only one seen out of uniform during the naming section. It was meant to show the horror of his out-of-control powers as a civilian rather than X-Man. His outfit is similar to the ones we've already seen, but he has a yellow belt that runs up over his shoulders to make the X, along with an X on his belt. We also see his hair, not covered by a full head covering in the show. As a leader on the team, he appears across all storylines. However, in the episode Till Death Do Us Part, the focus is on him and Jean Grey finally getting married. It turns out to be a ruse orchestrated by Mr. Sinister and Morph.
Shard, you, Rogue, and Jubilee stay here in case Cable's theory proves wrong.
Cyclops came back in the Spider-Man crossover episodes in 1995, appearing in The Mutant Agenda and Mutant's Revenge, but he wasn't central to the plot where Spider-Man needed help with his mutation.
Something has taken control of the ship. We're leveling off.
You mean they won't be picking us up with blotters? I like it.
Later that year, Cyclops appeared with the rest of the X-Men team in a brief cameo in Fantastic Four. Cyclops' role in the Bryan Singer live-action X-Men movie released in 2000 got plenty of criticism from fans. Played by James Marsden, who was pretty solid in the role, the character was written in a very dull way, portraying him as a jealous and insecure character with powers far weaker than in the comics. He also doesn't display any leadership characteristics, which is nothing like him in the comics. Pair that with a black leather costume that didn't resemble much from the comics either, and you can see why fans hated this version. It's no surprise that Logan became the fan favorite rather than Cyclops.
Maybe it's his way with people.
You don't like him.
How could you tell?
Back over to animation, and the next appearance was an X-Men Evolution in the same year. This version of Cyclops is a confident teenager attending Bayville High and Xavier's school. He's close to teammate Nightcrawler and has a crush on young Jean Grey. After he graduates from high school, he becomes a teacher at Xavier's school. His outfit is similar to the one from the first X-Men animated show, without the yellow underwear, but with the red X symbols on his shoulders. He looks understandably younger and less muscular.
Dude, just don't hassle me about my shades and we'll call it even. Welcome to the team. Come on, I'll show you where they hide the sodas.
In 2003, the live-action sequel arrived, with Marsden again playing Cyclops in the movie. He gets mind-controlled by Stryker's son after being beaten and taken by Lady Deathstrike, and he has to be taken down by his beloved Jean, which starts the destruction of the dam, eventually killing Jean and changing Scott forever.
Don't! You don't say that!
We gotta go back.
She's gone. No!
3 years later, it became a trilogy with X-Men The Last Stand, with Scott having to deal with Jean's apparent resurrection in this take on the Dark Phoenix story. Scott, still mourning the loss of Jean, travels to her resting place at Alkali Lake. There, Jean manifests herself to him, but their reunion takes a tragic turn when Jean inadvertently kills him while they share a kiss, bringing Cyclops' role in the movies to an abrupt end.
I know how you feel. Don't. When Jean died, I said don't. Not everybody heals as fast as you, Logan.
Cyclops has also appeared in a few Robot Chicken sketches alongside his X-Men family, including one scene where it turns out the moment he got his powers isn't the way he or we want to remember it.
I love you, Victoria's Secret catalog.
He's either claymation or appears as a stop-motion Cyclops action figure, like in The X-Men Get Fired, where he literally gets cooked by a Sentinel. In 2009, Wolverine and the X-Men gave us a look at what Cyclops outside of the X-Men might be like. In this series, Scott has left the team after Jean and Professor X go missing, and he becomes quite the loner in this time away. Eventually, he's persuaded to come back and ends up reuniting with Jean again. We get to see a gray trench coat and dark blue bodysuit version of Cyclops, with lots of similarities to some of his looks in the live-action film series, including those sunglasses and a jockish look when out of uniform, and a less garish X-Men uniform when on duty. In a flashback scene, we do get to see younger Cyclops wearing his classic blue and yellow comic book uniform.
Jean? Jean! It's really you. It's okay, I'm here. You don't have to be afraid.
Scott Summers briefly appeared in X-Men Origins Wolverine in the same year, being one of the teenage mutants who gets kidnapped by Sabretooth on behalf of Stryker. He is freed during Logan's escape and fights against Stryker and his Weapon X program, which took Cyclops' DNA, along with that of other young mutants to create Weapon 11. He is eventually telepathically contacted by Professor X, and we see how he finds the school for the gifted for the first time.
You can't see.
Trust me.
Marvel Superheroes What The from 2009 was a stop-motion self-parodying web series from Marvel on YouTube, and it featured stop-motion animations of Marvel action figures, featuring Cyclops right from the first episode, telling humorous but family-friendly stories. The episode Marvel Fest Extravaganza was made to promote the Astonishing X-Men motion comic, which was Cyclops' next appearance. In this motion comic series, the story and animation style follow Joss Whedon's run on the comic, with Cyclops' headgear shiny chrome, making him look a little like RoboCop. He's mostly shown wearing a t-shirt, jeans, and a leather jacket in this version.
It's about everything. Truth, perception. We've saved the world.
Also in 2009, Cyclops appeared in the Superhero Squad show episode Mysterious Mayhem at Mutant Academy. This version's appearance resembles that of X-Men the Animated Series, but in chibi form, like the rest of the characters in the show, aimed at younger children. In 2010's Black Panther action comic series, we see Cyclops again in his classy navy blue bodysuit, this time fighting Juggernaut in a cutaway from the main story, as Juggernaut becomes an enemy for Black Panther.
But wait. Hey!
Way to lead the team, Scott.
Shut up, Logan. You're just jealous.
Cyclops has also appeared in Mad a few times over the years. He gets his eyes checked in Season 1, Episode 8 before coming back with the X-Men in Episode 25. In Season 2, Episode 22, he joins Storm and Wolverine in laughing at the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. And in Season 4, Episode 7, there's a crossover titled CSI Cyclops Scene Investigation, blending CSI crime scene investigation with Cyclops' character. In 2011, we got Marvel Anime X-Men, which put a brand new spin on the look of Cyclops, showing him in the classic navy blue and yellow gold, but the sleek bodysuit was replaced by something much more Eastern looking and flamboyant. It's a different look, and I'm not sure it suits Cyclops. In the plot, he travels with the team to Japan to take on the U-Men and the Inner Circle after Armor is abducted and taken there.
Isn't funny!
Well, that's good. It's not supposed to be.
During the Cerebro scene in X-Men First Class, we briefly see a cameo of a young Scott Summers holding a baseball, wearing a glove as Professor X uses the machine to seek out young mutants as candidates for his program. In the episode Infiltration of the Avengers Earth's Mightiest Heroes from 2012, keen-eyed watchers can see a headshot of Cyclops in his black bodysuit on Nick Fury's wall of suspected Skrulls. The 2014 movie X-Men Days of Future Past showed us Cyclops in a short cameo at the end of the movie, greeted by Logan in the Academy sporting a nostalgic look, including glasses similar to his classic style. The Wolverine vs. Sabretooth action comic came out in the same year, and Cyclops appeared as a member of the X-Men in a minor role. This was a darker, grittier animation than previous appearances, but Cyclops retains his classic dark blue suit with orange trim. In Marvel Disc Wars, The Avengers, Cyclops got another dose of the anime treatment. This time, the costume was more fitting with his classic look than in the Marvel anime series, but the suit had flashes of red across the chest of the darker black bodysuit, completed by the classic yellow belt. His optic blast looked huge in true anime style. In 2016's X-Men Apocalypse, we saw a new take on a younger Scott Summers, this time played by Ty Sheridan from Ready Player One. Brought into the academy and introduced as Havoc's younger brother, discovering his powers whilst at high school, initially covering his eyes to avoid hurting anyone before learning how to harness his abilities and helping in the fight against Apocalypse, in a suit fitting with the rest of the team, but not quite the classic comic book uniform.
I'm very excited to see your culture.
Well, you're not going to see it here. The only thing American about this place is that it used to be British.
Marvel then released its TLDR series in 2017, which is an explainer-style animated web series charting Marvel's most beloved comic book storylines in just a few minutes. This included the Avengers vs. X-Men crossover events and the Dark Phoenix saga. The visuals were animated based closely on the comic books being covered. The Ty Sheridan version of Cyclops also had an unlikely and welcome cameo in Deadpool 2 in 2018. He suited up in the school when Deadpool asks for a cameo from at least one famous X-Men character, along with the rest of the team led by Beast, who quickly closes the door. Ty Sheridan also returned in 2019 for X-Men Dark Phoenix. Sadly, this movie didn't hit quite the same as the rest of the prequel movies, but we finally got the classic X-pattern blue and yellow suit we've all been waiting to see in live action. Facing off against Magneto, showing off his immense power to try and protect Jean, this movie does justice to Cyclops, even if it wasn't a smash hit.
We'll figure everything out together. Just come back to me. Remember, you said you'd always come back to me.
In X-Men 97, Cyclops is a busy man, leading the team after Professor X's passing, expecting a baby son with Jean, and somehow getting even more ripped in the process. His powers are displayed so well, with him using his kinetic blast to land out of a plane with no parachute in episode 1. That's right before everything gets taken away from him, with Magneto listed in Charles's will as the new owner of the school and the leader of the X-Men. He is astounded to see another Jean knock at the door of the mansion asking for help in the episode's cliffhanger, wondering if the Jean he's just had a child with actually is the real Jean Grey.
How'd scum like you get your hands on Sentinel technology? No, don't! I surrender! Not.
James Marsden is heavily rumored to have a cameo in Deadpool and Wolverine as Cyclops, as Marvel looks to tie up the loose ends of the team featured in the Fox movies, giving them a send-off before replacing them with their newer cast of mutants in the MCU. We might even see Ty Sheridan as Cyclops for the last time.